What is up, movie viewers? Dynamo Views and Reviews here, asking, what you watching? Well, today I am watching the Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. Finally, it is out in movie theaters. And you know I had to go check it out. Wakanda Forever stars Letitia Wright, Angela Bassett, Lupita Nyong'o, Dena Guerrero, Winston Duke, Martin Freeman, Dominique Thorne, Tanakh Hertel. And it is directed by Ryan Coogler. Written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert, co-produced by Luis D'Esposito, Nate Moore, Kevin Feige, Barry H. Waldman, and Victoria Alonso. The long-awaited sequel to the Black Panther has finally arrived. Now, this movie had a $250 million budget. Expectations are high. But did it live up to the first Black Panther movie? Well, we will see. Let's get into it. Now, the opening of this Wakanda Forever film shows Shuri. And Shuri is seen coming into her lab, and she is praying to Goddess Bas to help her to save her brother. Bas, of course, is the Panther goddess, and based on Bas, the ancient Egyptian deity. Bast appeared as a Black Panther and helped Bashinga, the first Black Panther, discover the radioactively mutated heart-shaped herb. You know, the flowers that Killmonger had burned when he became the Black Panther in the first Black Panther movie. But as she is walking into the lab, she is talking to her AI, and she's asking what is her brother's vital signs, and the AI is telling her his heart rate. And we know that that voice, of course, is that of Trevor Noah. Surprise. But Shuri is frantically adjusting the sequence, and she's rearranging particles consistently, asking the AI the probability of success, and it keeps replying a percentage. It got to 21%, then again it was at 15%, but she's trying desperately to get the sequence right so that she can save him. And she asks him again, what is my brother's heart rate? But before the AI can respond, Queen Ramonda enters into the lab and informs her that King T'Challa is with the ancestors. And it is very somber at this point, and it is emotionally relatable for anyone that has lost a loved one. And it just pulled at your heartstrings. An emotional moment indeed. There is a montage of pictures and videos and moments of reflection of the Black Panther and a tribute to our brother Chadwick Boseman. Peace be upon him. But Queen Ramonda and Shuri are then seen walking, and they are clearly a part of the funeral procession in honor of King T'Challa. They are both dressed in their white funeral attire and amidst the other Wakandans who are celebrating his life. They are walking along beside the casket of T'Challa that is positioned under one of their flying aircraft. That conveniently also resembles the Panther face from underneath. His coffin is turned upwards and it is pulled up into the aircraft. Now that left me wondering, what did they do with his body? Did they bury it or what? What happens to that coffin? But early in the movie, there is a ship and some underwater burrowing is going on the ocean's floor. It turns out that these people are quarrying for vibranium. There are people in protective gear, and they are in the ocean. They're on the ocean's floor, and they're trying to explore. They're being aided in this from above in the ship, when all of a sudden they see this thing that swim past them swiftly, and one attached to a line disappears, And the person that is observing loses his vitals, so she asks the other one that is down there to check on him, asks does she have visual on him. But she looks and he is no longer even connected to the line. It's because the blue people under the water have taken him. But she screamed because she also saw these blue skinned people who are swimming so fast it's just taking them out. Then there is a loud humming. There's a loud noise, and the crew members are put into a trance and they simply walk off the ship into the sea. It is the sound of that the people in the water, the blue people, are making. It's a siren's call of sorts. But these people jump into that ship and they're just destroying it. And the people on it, and even though they are fired upon, they just keep coming and are even able to heal themselves, because the man and woman that were actually looking at the divers, they put in earplugs and they attempted to make their escape from the ship onto a plane, helicopter of sorts. But as they are airborne and leaving, they're flying away, something is pulling the plane backwards. It turns out to be this guy with those green hot pants on and wings on his ankle. Yeah, he's a dude that flew out of the water and into the sky. And he manages to destroy the plane and all of the people in it. The same happens with the people on the boat. And the news reports are blaming Wakanda for this incident. The news points the finger directly. They're assuming that it is the Wakandans, because they are at this point unaware of the people in blue that live under the ocean. In the next scene, see Queen Ramonda, and she is speaking at the United Nations. She is letting them know that she is aware of what they whisper. Because Wakanda is without a king, the Black Panther, they think they can take advantage of this opportunity. And that is when she is interrupted, because Sadora Milaje marches in, and with them are several soldiers from France that they make bow. They are all on one knee. Queen Ramonda speaks boldly. She stands and she let them know at the United Nations that next time they do this, it will be taken as aggression. Take charge, Sister Queen. And when she spoke, you knew she meant business. Angela Bassett was believable in that role. She really embodied that character. But at this point, the movie advanced a year ahead following T'Challa's death. And Shuri can be found again busy working in her lab. Queen Ramonda comes in to remind Shuri of the date and wants to spend a special moment with her. Just the two of them together. So she asks Shuri to drive her to wherever it is that she wanted them to go. It is a moment that she intends to get Shuri to burn her funeral robe, which is customary and represents moving on from the grief. But Shuri lets her know she is not ready, because she feels like burning up the world. She's angry, she's full of grief. But while they are having this sincere heart-to-heart conversation, they hear a disturbance and see a man that comes up out of the water, and he is walking towards them. Queen Ramona is startled. She gets up, she grabs her spear, and she and Shuri both take the fighting stance as this male continues to approach them. Queen Ramona says, "Stop right there. Who are you? And how did you get in here?" The intruder responds, "This place is amazing. The air is pristine. And the water. My mother told stories of a place like this. A protective land that people never have to leave. Never have to change who they are. What reason do you have to reveal your secret to the world?" Ramonda says to him, "I am not a woman that enjoys repeating herself. "Who are you?" And he responds that he is known by many names. "My people call me Akukukan, but my enemies call me no more." He explains to them that it is because of T'Challa. The secrets of vibranium were revealed to the world, and that Wakanda is responsible for the outsiders drilling and searching for vibranium in the seas, which in turn disturbs his kingdom and is endangering the life of his people. Ramonda thought vibranium was only found in Wakanda, but Shuri notices that Namor is covered in vibranium. This is when Queen Ramonda learns. Well, he tells her the story of the vibranium meteorite that too fell to Earth. And they were like 65 million years ago. And I'm like, how do they know? It was 65 million years ago. But anyway, one went to Wakanda and one under the sea. So it is obviously on the bottom of the ocean. So Namor is requesting that they go and find the scientist that is responsible for creating a device in which vibranium can actually be found. So they are in America, and he says the rest of the world will be seeking vibranium and disturbing their home. It is not detected with any other kind of metal detector, so it is important to him that they find the scientists who actually created the device that can find vibranium. He wants them to find her because he feels like it is their fault that the world is aware of vibranium. So Namor tells her not to reveal who he is and where he is from, and leaves her a shelter blow that will call him after she has the scientist, and he will return to retrieve the scientist who created this vibranium detecting device. After speaking to the council, Queen Ramonda decides to send the Dora Milaje to find the scientist and bring the scientist back to Wakanda. Shuri insists on going, and Ramonda rejects that idea, but when Okoye declares she will protect her and make sure nothing happens to Shuri, the queen reluctantly agrees to Shuri leaving, but lets Okoye know she will hold her responsible for Shuri's well-being. So they go to America to find this scientist. The scientist turns out to be 19-year-old student Riri Williams. They find her in her dorm room in college. She never actually made it to locate vibranium. She completed a science project that was turned into a locator for vibranium, but that was not her intent. It was one of her college professors that actually used this as such. She is just a young genius doing what she loves and trying to complete college. After some negotiation and humor, she reluctantly agrees to be brought back to Wakanda, but she needs to stop by her garage to get a computer and some items and destroy a few things in the process before she leaves to go with them to Wakanda. Once they arrive at the garage, they are soon surrounded by police and must make an escape. Shuri gets on a motorbike, Okoye gets in Riri's car, and Riri puts on a self-made Iron Man suit. This suit enables her to fly out through the roof of the building. She made this from some parts, some junk parts, many would say, but they are all escaping, and the authorities are hot on their tails. They're in pursuit of them. They are by air and by car. They have all types of technology that they are using to follow them. Shuri loses control of the bike that she is riding, and she crosses this bridge and is knocked unconscious for a moment. Riri is also in the midst of fighting. She's trying to avoid one of those little spy things, and she eventually falls to the ground in her Iron Man like suit, and she's knocked unconscious as well, and she's on the bridge. So they find themselves on this bridge, and Okoye is there. She's the only one that is there and able to fight, and she is fighting these blue people come up out of the water. These are the Telecans. They jump up out of the water and onto the bridge, and they try to take Riri Williams, who has been knocked unconscious, but Okoye stops it, and the fight begins. She takes her staff and prevents them from dragging Riri into the ocean. Okoye is fighting. There is a huge big blue man that she is fighting. It's a serious battle. And it looks as if Okoye is going to lose because this guy is really, he's tearing her up. But she's fighting this guy. She doesn't give up. He looks to be about 2 or 3 times her size, but she's no pushover, and she bravely continued the fight. But Shuri gets up and she gets involved in the fight, but eventually she agrees that they can take Riri only if they take her with them to their captain or king, to Namor. And this is where it makes no sense to me for them to be fighting the Wakandans. You are that powerful and that bold, and you're out in public in America on that bridge fighting. Why don't you just take that fight to the Americans or the French people or whoever is disturbing your home? Wakanda did nothing wrong, so this made no real sense to me. But once again, the reports in the news states that the Wakandans were also responsible for this debacle as well. It's like they're setting up for something. But the colonizer, Everett Ross, of course, he sees this and he comes on the scene the next day, and there he discovers a Wakandan bracelet that was sneakily sat there by his ex-wife, who is also the director. These are beads that Wakandans use to stabilize injuries and use them to communicate with one another. He gets the beads and put them in his pocket, and he thinks nobody sees him. But the director, who is his ex-wife, once again, Valentino, has bugged and placed them there for him to find on purpose. She later puts him in jail when he is not willing to help them form an offensive against Wakanda. So, meanwhile, Okoye has returned to Wakanda, and she tells the queen that Shuri has been taken. Queen Ramonda was displeased to hear this, and as a result, she relieves Okoye of her duty in the Dora Milaje. She is no longer in charge. But even as she pleads with her, she wants to die for Wakanda, Ramonda dismissed her. Now, Shuri and Riri have both been taken to Telecon, this underwater city, and there they speak with Namor. And Namor is telling them about his people and how they came to be under the water, how his mother was pregnant with him when she drank the blue heart-shaped flower that caused him to become a mutant, and how their people evolved and came to live under the sea. He revealed the history of drinking the herb, of course, just to escape the colonizer, and how his ancestors' bodies need water, so they built their underwater city. And he returned after his mother's death to bury her on the land as she requested. And there he discovered white men colonizing the people. So there are 2 vibranium meteorites, as he had said. One hit the Yucatan that fell to earth, one undersea, and one in Wakanda. Namor revealed Telecon to Shuri, and it had 2 separate spaces. He got him a place under the sea. There is one where you go into the water, but you come up and there's a dry area where you can breathe without any assistance. The other place, this place is covered in murals of Aztec and Mayan gods, including the mythical creature Kukulkan that they are referring to him as. He has a second place that's deeper, that's called the capital city, and it was much deeper under the water. He actually took Shuri to see the capital city, and she thought it was beautiful. Personally, not so much for me. It was dark and it looked cold, And I kept thinking, I bet it smells really fishy under there. I wasn't impressed with it. Now, I was thinking to myself when Shuri called it beautiful. I was thinking, nah, that wouldn't work for me. I got the impression Namor was trying to be her boo. He gave her a bracelet and stuff. Maybe he was trying to manipulate her. Either way, her mother wanted Shuri back home. And Namor actually came back to visit Ramonda once again. But he left Shuri and Riri at his place under the water. He came and he delivered an ultimatum to Queen Ramonda, demanding that Wakanda join forces with his kingdom, and that they got so many people they would come in and it would be war against Wakanda. But Ramonda was not hearing that. All she wanted was her daughter. And who's to say that threat wouldn't be continuous once he got what he wanted from them? Who's to say that they wouldn't come back demanding something else? But Queen Ramonda goes to Haiti and finds Nakia and gets her to use her spying abilities to locate Shuri under the sea. She does. She's a good spy. And she actually goes in, she finds, and she rescues Shuri and Riri. While she is rescuing them, she has to fight with some of the Telecan people, and one eventually dies from the wound that Nakia inflicts. Nakia came to fight. She didn't come to play. She did her thing. But when she injured one of them, Shuri attempts to save her life by using their bees to aid in the healing. They obviously leave, but what didn't make sense once again to me, because these Telecon people have the ability to heal themselves, why did she just not heal herself? Or why didn't Namor heal her? But anyway, Nakia loads them into the watercraft and they return to Wakanda. Ramonda and Shuri embrace, and I felt that relief myself. I think all mothers could feel that part. But the good feel didn't last long, because Namor launched a surprise attack on Wakanda that resulted in the death of Queen Ramonda. This wicked guy, he flooded their kingdom and the queen's palace. Sorry, but I have no sympathy for him or his people at that point. That was ruthless and very uncalled for. And for me, I just was not sold on the wings on his feet, giving him the ability to fly. The whole flying thing for me just did not make much sense. Perhaps once they revealed that he was a mutant, or he called himself a mutant, okay, maybe that makes a little sense. But eventually, Shuri is able to complete the sequence for the herb that she was trying to make, and she recreates the flower mix, then drinks the elixir. She visits the ancestral plane in an attempt to speak to her mother or brother, but instead she finds Killmonger because she is still angry. She becomes the Black Panther, and after a hard-fought battle with Namor, she decides to let him live and makes an agreement with him to keep their secret. Now, Letitia Wright is a very tiny young woman. What is she, about 65 pounds? Okay, I'll give her 75 pounds, maybe. But in this movie, this huge guy, he is throwing her all over the place in these fight scenes. I know it's just a movie and it's make-believe, but it just triggered something, because even with the Panther juice, he was still much stronger than her. Her main weapon was her brain. I think they perhaps should have given her a little more abilities, and in the end, he stabbed her with the spear completely through her body. This is a tiny woman he was fighting. He took her mother's life. He flooded her country and perhaps killed some of her people. And she still let him live. I think she should have finished him off. And for sure, she should have torn all those chicken wings off his feet. I still felt Namor should have been battling a big, strong male. Again, I gave this movie a 3. And I gave it a 3 stars out of 5 because of the lack of representation for me. It honestly made me feel some kind of way. Yeah, it's just a movie, but I got to the root of why this movie just did not sit well with me. And again, it is all about representation or the lack thereof. There are various superheroes on the big screen, but none with the established character that T'Challa represented for black children or Wakanda itself, especially my 4-year-old little black boy. Now, Caucasian children have a wide variety of superheroes that look like them. They have many to look up to. One that stands alone and stands out and really need no sidekicks to be super or heroic. T'Challa comes along, a black prince, a powerful man, a king. He's wise, he's rich, and the leader of the greatest, most advanced country on earth. He is honest, brave, and a wonderful representation of black malehood for children everywhere. Even if it is make-believe, it is the representation that matters. And he is simply gone, removed from a franchise that was based upon him. This character is the Black Panther. He is the franchise. Now suddenly, this prominent black male king, positive figure is taken away from a billion-dollar franchise. Representation matters because somewhere, the people I think that made this movie were unable to separate the man, the wonderful actor who is Chadwick, from the character that he embodied. This was a brilliant actor, there's no doubt about it. Chadwick's acting abilities brought this powerful character alive in the minds of us all. But T'Challa is a character, and this character had the biggest impact on the movie itself and on our little black children. The beautiful yet powerful women warriors were already well represented in this movie. T'Challa was the main source, the main character, and in my opinion, he should have been recast. I understand the emotional aspect tied to this actor. He could have been remembered, and still they should have maintained that most important black character, T'Challa. Representation does matter. I saw my 4-year-old little man reaction and the joy he felt about pretending to be this larger than life character, T'Challa, Black Panther. He couldn't comprehend or understand. He couldn't comprehend or understand Chadwick Boseman's death. But when he was told by the 6-year-old that the Black Panther is dead, it changed his whole perspective. It clearly did not sit well with him when my 6-year-old says to him, there's no Black Panther anymore. And that they begin to argue back and forth. It really made me realize the impact of the black man's representation in movies, in media, and in the lives of black boys. There were amazing black females represented throughout this movie from the start, and it was beautiful to see. I love seeing the women warriors. And when they needed to be feminine, they were. They were feminine. They looked feminine, but they were powerful. There was no lack of strong black women and feminine black women. They were both. They're interchangeable. But the lack of the strong male characters in this movie was overwhelming to me. I honestly left the movie theater wishing that Killmonger could have been brought back to become the Black Panther. T'Challa was the main character of the franchise, and although the death of the character, Chadwick Boseman, is very emotional, I cried myself. The character T'Challa should have been maintained and recast, separated from the brilliant actor that played him on screen, continuing his reign and upholding the franchise, to do away with a powerful black male leader of a whole black country, a positive role model to little black boys everywhere in the midst of a world surrounded by an overabundance of Caucasian superheroes, it made me question the agenda of this movie. Is there an agenda? Sorta, kinda. How do you get rid of the main leader, the star, in its own franchise, and kill off the strong black male character? It just didn't sit well with me. I mean, all of the strong black males were killed off. I cannot say I like that aspect of the movie. Bring T'Challa back. Superman has been recast several times by other actors. Spider-Man has been replaced several times. Batman has been replaced with other actors, but to simply take the only strong black male character doesn't sit well with me. M'Baku was there, but somehow his representation was of a lesser, emasculated, childish, just a weaker kind of character than he was before. Because even in the first Black Panther, he was stronger. He even confronted T'Challa for the throne, and he didn't like how T'Challa was not doing, or he felt he wasn't doing enough to show his powers. And I definitely do not like when M'Baku called a member of the Dora Milaje a bald-headed demon. It seemed so out of line and just took away from the seriousness of that moment. He is almost 3 hours long, and it is a really interesting movie. And they even found a way to create a real villain this time that was really easy for me to dislike, because I never looked at Killmonger as an actual villain in the sense of what a villain really is. But it did not offer to me, in my opinion, the amazement that the first Black Panther did for me. And it is often difficult for most sequels to do regardless, but with the passing of the real life character, I think the real life person that played the character, I think it greatly impacted the plot a bit too much. It certainly has a wonderful cast of characters. The costumes were wonderful. The action, the actors, they were all on point. However, I just don't like the plot when it comes to T'Challa passing. That is the part that just doesn't sit well with me. They could have had him in a coma, had him transformed into someone else, but not completely get rid of this strong, black, masculine person. This character was so believable. And perhaps he's not truly gone. After all, this is make-believe. What society can be maintained without the men and the women in their proper roles? We need masculine men. Where were the strong black male warriors in this movie? The male tribe members from Wakanda tribes, there were, 4 different tribes? Where were these men? Why weren't they front and center? And why weren't they ready for the battle? Ready to handle some business, up for the challenge, and using their advanced technology to outthink, to outsmart these murderous people. And even they're using it, and they have it to fight the rest of the world, utilize it in this manner. Now, the fight scene should have shown them using more of that technology to me. And I just did not understand why Okoye's husband was put in jail. As it was referenced, Killmonger was the king at that time. And even though T'Challa reclaimed his throne from him, the fight was fair. And your duty is to Wakanda and the king. While Kobe should not have been imprisoned, especially since Okoye and the Dora Milaje were not also imprisoned as well. But throughout the whole movie, in the theater, I was screaming, where are the men? Where are the warrior black men? The overwhelming lack of male warriors for me was evident, and it made no sense. Now, Namor, he killed so many people. And I do not think again that Shuri should have had any mercy on him. He had none for her family, or for her people. Now, it was revealed that Nakia did give birth to T'Challa's son, Prince T'Challa. Perhaps it is the intent of Marvel to eventually take on the reins of being the Black Panther. Once again, we will just have to see, because Marvel is cruising into some murky water that I just don't swim in, that I see coming in the future. But this movie was definitely setting up for future Marvel movies and future Disney shows to come that is set to be included in Phase 5. For instance, Val, that evil director that won't solve the vibranium for the United States, she is said to be assembling a team to eventually confront and attack Wakanda, which may be what Namor hinted at. Hopefully, Wakanda will conjure up some big, strong black men in future projects, and not just the wisecracking M'Baku. I would like to see black men represented in every aspect of this so-called Wakandan civilization. Those that are willing and able to handle businesses, and I do mean business as far as in the science lab, creating and helping to develop beneficial technology. I would like to see black male warriors on the battlegrounds. I want to see them in every aspect of the Wakandan life. Definitely the family represented, black woman, black man, black child. I thought that the movie would at least allow us to see more of Wakandans, their everyday working, their everyday interactions, and even more of their customs, are more about their spirituality. Who knows? Perhaps seeing this become inspiration to someone else to develop a new storyline, or perhaps someone else do a all new from scratch movie of some type with a powerful representation of a masculine black man. Perhaps, but Wakanda Forever is rated PG-13, and if you would like to check out Wakanda Forever, you most certainly can, because it is now playing in your local movie theater. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe to this channel, Dena Views and Reviews, and check out my other channel, Discussions with Dena, where I discuss current topics, events, and concerns to me and you on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or anywhere you get your podcasts. This has been Dena Movie Views. Join me for my next movie review and recommendation, and I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?